everyone, we are here in Mount Manitoba. It's the home of Not Hall of Fame. It's actually the current headquarters. We used to be in Barbados, and we moved to Mount Manitoba. Why? The rent was cheaper. Let's run with that. It's possible. And I'm Kirk
But
Buchner.
it's the weather, better weather, definitely better weather.
Well, it's more inclement.
True.
Yes.
Is
So
it smoky? Is it smoky where you are?
no.
Smoky where I am because of your country. So,
Oh, okay. Please let's play this game because of your country. I would love to do that.
blame Canada, blame Canada. Seems that everything's come wrong since Canada came along. So
It is a great song.
it
It,
is.
it is. South Park, the best parody in the last 25 years. I was thinking about, I'll save that for after. My name's Kirk Buchner. I forgot to introduce myself, and I'm with Evan Nolan, and we run here at Mount Manitoba every now and then. Evan works remotely. He doesn't want to come to the mountain of Manitoba.
Yeah, I work in a significantly flatter place than a Mount Manitoba. So
I am sure that the mountains there aren't much different than the mountains here.
we do have a town nearby named Mount Pleasant, where the highest part of the town, I believe, is the railroad tracks, which are 6 inches above the rest of the flat street. So
Where we just vacationed, there was actually a ski hill
wow,
in
we
western
have
Manitoba.
we have one too, but it used to be a pile of trash that they just put stuff over, and then
The
charge,
Springfield tires, yes. But
yeah, charge you $75 to go down.
oh my God, we went
We
off
are
the
way off
rails.
track.
We went off the rails and we barely started. Kirk Buchner, Evan Nolan. We run
Hey,
Not
that's me.
Hall of Fame, yeah, not Hall of Fame.com, the fictitious athlete Hall of Fame, the fictitious rock and roll Hall of Fame, and something that you all need to vote on right now. The United States Athletic Hall of Fame, www.nothalloffame.com/USA. And some of you might be voting in a project that Evan and I are doing right now. And it's a perfect segue to promote that for what we're going to be talking about anyway in our main event anyway. I just used anyway twice. But
Anyway,
on. Yeah. English major was I.
hmm.
Mm,
I was a Latin American economic development major, so at least yours is, something somewhat useful.
not really. It really wasn't. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, I just did that word again. We are running the Pro Football Hall of Fame Revisited project, and as anything, it's a work in progress. The first time I sent out a ballot for the preliminary list, a lot of people were happy and commented, like, great research, Kirk. Did you have to make it so impossible to fill out? So I made it better.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on it. It's like, apparently you can teach a middle-aged dog some new tricks because I figured out how to do an online survey.
Good for you. I mean, you're using 1946 technology, also known as Excel. So it's a class of 46. We're just get better as we go along the way.
That's fair. And what this is, for people wondering what the hell we're talking about, we are acting as if the Pro Football Hall of Fame began in 1946. Evan and I are of the stern belief that any sports institution, if you're going to do a Hall of Fame, it's always a lot easier if you start 25 years after your inception. And we're playing along those rules. So we've collected a voting body. There's 27 people voted in the first preliminary to semis. I've got 22 so far, waiting on a few more, hopefully. But people are going to be probably joining on, dropping off as things go. And if you are a big pro football fan, big historian, and you want to be a part of something kind of fun, well, it's fun to us. And if you're watching this, it's probably as fun to you. Hit us up and we will gladly add you unless you are a complete toolbox.
Fair enough. And just, it's not much of a commitment. It's just once a week for the next 3.5 years. At the rate we're going to be going.
Well, okay, but even then, it's click, 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 click. But
I know. I was just kidding.
No, it's going to be about 3.5 years, and which is perfectly fine. I don't mind that, and we're going to be doing the same thing. I've already been asked when we're starting baseball and wrestling, and we will be. So
I don't know how much use I'm going to be in wrestling, but baseball, I have some thoughts.
Well, you're going to be involved in the baseball and hockey. I don't know if we do it. Hockey got off to such an early start.
Yeah,
I have no interest in doing that for hockey. Basketball, same. I don't know.
Basketball is too much of a mess.
Well, unless we sort of revamp it and just do pro,
I suppose.
But I've got no interest. Nobody's asked.
Fair enough.
So we'll let someone quarterback that one. The reason I wanted to open up with this is the biggest news, and if we would have recorded last week, we would have talked about that, but there was nothing really happened this week anyway, so that's fine for us. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has announced their semifinalists. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the second year in a row where they've done semifinalists, or at least made it public, who they are for the senior category and coach/contributors. I'm correct in that, right?
It's really been since 2020.
Okay.
So coach slash contributors is a new thing, but since 2020, we've had some sort of ideas through the semifinalists were in the various categories. So although it's been back and forth on some stuff. So we knew like Bud Adams was a semifinalist a few years ago, but they didn't do it back 2 years ago. So to answer your question, the answer about it is 2020, 2021, 2023, 2024. They kind of 2022.
All right, so not 2 years, but recently.
Yeah, recently.
Okay. And so we're going to go through the semifinalists. And as we're doing that, I think we're going to give a quick opinion as we go, whether we would vote for them for the final 12 and what we think their chances are. Evan's got in front of him, who we actually prepped, believe it or not, who was a semifinalist and the finalist last year.
Mm-hmm. And understand this is only the seniors and contributors / coaches, which are now one category. We don't have the normal semifinalists as of yet.
Well, yeah, we don't even have the preliminary as of yet. So
right. I'm just saying for anyone's like, hey, where's Jared Allen? Jared Allen's will be on the semifinalist list, but they're not here yet.
Right, exactly, yes. So this is great if you are old like us or old at heart like Vinny. Hi, Vin, how you doing? We love her, brother. We do. So starting off alphabetically is my most wanted quarterback, Ken Anderson. Basically the consensus MVP in 1981, Walter Payton Man of the Year in 75, 32,000 passing yards, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was for his era. Absolutely. 197 touchdown passes. Didn't win a Super Bowl when he did take Cincinnati to it, but no one was beating San Francisco. It just wasn't.
They ran into a historically fantastic team. It's like when the Patriots made the first time they ran into 86 or 85 Bears. What are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and Anderson, I believe, was a finalist in the regular process at one point in time. Somehow Ken Riley snuck past him in terms of Bengals, but so be it.
You know, those African-American cornerbacks are always beating out the white quarterbacks for teams. That's just always how it works. It's the natural order of things.
I don't know how we went to a whole racial thing with this, but Ken Riley was, to be fair, Ken Riley was passed over as a quarterback. So
no, that's true. That's very true.
So yes. Talking about making the most of it, right?
Yeah.
I said this to my buddy. Nowadays, like 30 years ago, if you would have said like, okay, you know what, you can win a championship if your quarterback's black and your running back's white. No, you can't. Yeah, you can. Figure that one out, because when I was a kid, that was not what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew all this time that apparently we all sort of have equal amount brain capacity? Well, I guess most of us did.
Mm-hmm.
You went racial first.
Except for people making the charts. So
God damn. Anyhow,
as we brought forward, must have been a couple years ago. The NFL was using a chart for the
yeah. Please, we're here. Do it. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah, they're using the chart for the CTE stuff. Now it sounds bad, but they basically gave less money to African Americans because they were just deemed not to be as smart. Now it sounds really, really bad, except for the fact that the NFL was using what they were using in courts for recovery on things. As much as it's bad for the NFL, the whole system was using it. So that's worse.
And I think what got me upset, possibly more than Evan, I'm not sure, was that you and I were talking about that more than the Jamel Hills of the world, the Bamar Jones of the world. This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And
you missed it completely.
Crazy. So anyway, so this is Ken Anderson's 6th time as a semifinalist overall.
Okay.
He's been a semifinalist now. How many straight years? Was he semifinalist? So he was not. So he's been a semifinalist the last 4 years.
Did he make the finals last year? I don't recall.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
And And we have 12, there are 25 names, right? Or 26 names.
Well,
Right?
20, yeah, it's, because they allow for ties. We'll be doing the same thing. Amazingly, in the first thing, I didn't have to worry about ties yet. We'll see how this goes. Stay on the line after, because there's one thing I got to sort of like mention regarding our Pro Football Revisited project. I just want to remember that. Keeping with the Andersons, we have Otis.
Sorry, but by the way, would you vote for Ken?
Yes.
As one of the people? Yeah, me too.
As one of the 12, I would.
Yeah.
So I would. Someone else who would also get my vote is Otis Anderson. 13,335 yards from scrimmage, 86 touchdowns, two-time Super Bowl champ, and I've been working on my all-time Cardinals, so I've been doing a lot more looking at Anderson's work with the Cardinals, where he might have had the first, if you were to do a top 10 of the best first two seasons as a running back, don't sleep on Otis Anderson. But what gets him here is really his work in New York, even though he had less yardage, but it was the leadership and really pounding it when it counted. Super Bowl MVP, two titles with the Giants. I mean, one more as a sidekick, but one as a vital cog. I don't know if they win it without him.
So he's not one of the 12 I vote for. He's just off.
Just off? Okay. Was he there last time? Again, I don't remember with
this is his first time ever as a semifinals.
In any capacity.
In any capacity, yeah. Otis Anderson's first time.
Okay. So someone I would not vote for, but I have mad respect for. Carl Banks, linebacker, two-time Super Bowl winner again. I don't see him getting through the 12, but what do you think?
I don't see him getting through the 12 either. I wouldn't vote for him as well. This is just a really tough group. I kind of feel like there's 5 people who have a legitimate shot of getting in this time, and he's not one of them.
No,
because we know who the 3 people who just missed out last time are, and we're adding 2 really good players who went from.
You want to tell everyone who they are?
From last time, if I remember correctly, it was oh man, I should have said anything because I'm trying to remember now. It was Ken Anderson, Randy Gradishar, and Bob Kuchenberg, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like they're next to line. Maybe 2 of the other people we're going to be talking about skip one of them. I just don't think that Carl Banks is going to get there this time.
No, I don't
it's good. Any of these guys who are on this list, this is good news for them. Literally, absolutely. Any of these guys on this list, this is good news for them. So this is Banks' second time as a semifinalist, by the way.
Yeah, and we're not going to focus on today who got left out. We're just going to focus on those who made it this far. We're negative enough as it is. We're not going to. Well, I'm not going to go there. Believe it or not, I'm going to be a super happy duper positive guy.
Oh, it's a new you.
Sometimes I surprise you, and then you get upset. Or no, get upset. You say like, I miss cranky Kirk.
That is true. No, but this, I mean, there are people who everyone could say, hey, what about this person? There are people who've shown up on stuff before who aren't here. But it's good to see Carl Banks back for the first time in a very long time. I'm trying to find last time he was a semifinalist. Well, actually, it was only 2019, so it's not that long ago.
Yep. And if it's not on Excel, if it's not on Evan's Excel sheet, it's not worth being on Excel.
It's 2020. I misread my own sheet. So 2020. Okay. So his first time.
Actually, my favorite Excel moment with Evan is when he got upset that Evan Fournier has broken his record as the greatest Evan in Celtics history.
Yes, I'm still hoping for Evan Eschmeyer to make a comeback for that. So.
Maxie Vaughn, linebacker, 9-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro, NFL champion, superstar in the 50s. I think he should have made it 60s, sorry. I think he should have made it a long time ago. I'm huge on his candidacy. He obviously would have gotten one of my votes.
He actually, I came down to my last 2 votes, and he ended up winning it. So he would be my 12th vote out of the 12.
Okay.
So,
and
this is his 3rd time as a semifinalist.
Okay.
Semifinals the last, and he was one of the people who advanced to the finals last year.
Right.
So,
Someone who I just watched one of his highlights because of another show that I'll promote a little bit later. Larry Brown, running back, the 1972 MVP. So I was watching his performance in the Redskins' first Super Bowl. I apologize. I think it was seven that I watched that with Paul
I
Lawrence.
think that is 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. Yeah, because I'm just doing 9. I was watching Super Bowl 9, literally, as Evan and I were deciding when we
You're
were
texting ahead of time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I just watched a PSA of Frank Tarkenton telling everyone to conserve fuel, which
Excellent.
is there's so many things I can say about it, but I'll save that for when I talk to Paul about it. Larry Brown, so running back, 72 MVP, 4 Pro Bowls, 2 first team All Pro, and I don't have him as my 12. You?
No. No, I only have one running back, and he is not it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just one running back I like specifically.
How did he go in the past?
This is his first time ever as a semifinalist.
Someone who I don't think he was there last time, and he gets one of my votes. Charlie Connerly.
Yeah, Connerly hasn't been here for a little bit.
Yeah.
This is his 8th time as a semifinalist.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time was 19. Let's see. Next one.
We're saying 19 right away. That's already.
Yeah, I mean, in 1970, in 1980 was the last time. He was 1980 is so long ago, we didn't even know who the semifinalists were. So we didn't get our first semifinalist, by the way, until 2004.
At least public, anyway.
Public, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
20,000 yards passing in the 50s, which for that decade, like phenomenal. MVP, champion. This TDINT doesn't sound good, 173, 167, but it is.
Yeah, back when anybody could be mugged on the field.
Another one I'm huge on, Roger Craig, running back.
Sorry, would you vote for Connerly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Connerly's not one of mine. So
no, okay. Craig, interesting. All right, so I guess that's where we're going to differ a little bit. Roger Craig is someone who I'm also doing that. Voting for.
Yeah, Craig is my running back.
Yeah. First guy to do 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 13,100 yards, 73 TD. He was remember the Centennial class.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
This is his 15th time as a semifinalist. 15. I don't get it. He should be in. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, well, personally, I'm hoping he is. Wide receiver, someone who you and I are both huge on, is Henry Ellard. I think you and I both would agree that he is probably the most overlooked wide receiver of his decade, or his time. Only 3 Pro Bowls, but over 13,000 yards. Retired at number 3, and then I tried to figure out who the hell was his best quarterback, and
Jim Everett,
right? I mean, like, he said, more or less said, well, or other people sort of said it for him. Henry Ellard's not one of those boisterous individuals. But was it him or somebody who else compared him to Andre Reed? The numbers aren't that much different. Andre Reed and Jim Kelly.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So the Bears traded for DJ Moore from Carolina, and DJ Moore was really upset about his rankings in Madden that just came out the other day. And
that matters so much in the grand scheme of things, huh?
I know it doesn't, but he was upset about it. But he had a point. Like, just think of the quarterbacks he's had to catch passes from during his career in Carolina.
I can't even name them, and I pay attention to that team because they're in the NFC South.
But it's just like, I mean, Sam Darnold, broken down Cam Newton. Like, it's just been a
beyond broken down. Oh, by the way, Cam, it's not your hair that keeps you out of the league right now.
It's your arm.
It's your arm, it's your shoulder. Personally, I think you could be a great older Taysom Hill.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah. Get him in as a short yardage back, honestly. I mean, is there
well,
anyone better at short yards than Cam Newton?
if having said that, I have to work my way. I also WNBA commissioner, NFL head coach, or general manager.
Understood. But
Yes.
anyway, back to Ellard. Ellard this is last year he was a finalist. This is only
Yeah.
his second time. Sorry, it's his last year he was semifinalist for the first time. His last year of eligibility. Now he moves to the senior pool. It was only his second time. I spoke on him
Mm-hmm.
before on our thing. I'm a huge Henry Ellard guy. Henry Ellard and Kevin Williams are kind of my stick of the ground guys.
Mm-hmm.
Although I still, which someone asked the other day, I still say Gradishar, who's coming next, is the guy who I don't understand who's not in more than anybody.
Yeah.
But I think Gradishar is getting in this year finally.
Let's go into him. So former defensive player of the year, probably my most wanted. Evan and I were not Broncos people. We talked to a few Broncos people. We've become acquaintances with Ron Katz, a great guy who was a former Broncos fan of the year, maybe current. I don't know how that works. I apologize, Ron. But somebody that's his almost, I want to say one man mission because he's not one man doing this, but to sort of like propel Gradishar into that. But there's also an open letter that Jack Silverstein, our good friend, follow him at Twitter at Reed Jack. Yes, he's a Bears fan, and even if you don't like the Bears, it doesn't matter, guys.
He's a ridiculous writer.
Yeah, and he's a better talker than he's a writer, which is crazy because he's just that good. So please follow him. Chances are you are, because more people follow him than us. But
sure.
Saying that he laid out an open letter about the whole policy, and Gradishar was a big part of that. And he says that as a Bears guy. He doesn't say that for love of any Bronco. That's not who he is. That's not who I am. That's not who Evan is. Gradishar, I've been championing this since I've done this site, since you and I sort of joined forces. We're hoping this is his year. We've thought this before.
I know. Yeah, I know but I mean, this is kind of got to be his year. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I was never been his year before, but I mean, I just felt like Howley Klecko, and Riley last year, 3 defensive players, on 3 different levels of the defense. Mm-hmm. So I guess technically Howley had his spot, and Howley is a significantly older man. And Howley, no offense to Howley 100% deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. There's a question to me. But I'm just wondering if it came down to Howley versus Gradishar. Howley's older, let's get him in, sort of situation.
It could have been that. I mean, like, because if you're looking at similar positions, even though they sort of obviously was sort of different, I don't. No disrespect to Joe Klecko, I don't see him over Gradishar by any stretch. I really don't.
But you'll know something. Klecko played in New York, and Gradishar played Western Mississippi and not in Dallas.
And when Denver didn't matter.
And when Denver didn't nationally. Matter. I mean, Denver got their first guy in was Floyd Little, like years after they should have.
And it's the wrong guy.
It was the wrong guy. But it was almost like, well, we have a Bronco here. We should probably vote for him. So, but anyway, Gradishar, 10th time as a semifinalist, was one of the people who went to the finals last year. I highly expect that Gradishar is going to be getting in this year, and he's my first vote out of my 12.
Yeah, mine too. Someone I'm also huge on, Lester Hayes, cornerback, 2-time Super Bowl winner, defensive player of the year, 5-time Pro Bowler. During the pandemic, when there was no football, I was watching a bunch of old football, and I watched like entire, like whatever I could get my hands on, whatever was available on YouTube of full games in the first half of the 80s. Mm-hmm. What a difference maker Lester Hayes was. Mm-hmm. And one of my votes, somebody who I think should be in. What do you think? I mean, he's been here before.
He has been here before. This is his 11th time as a semifinalist, and he is my 14th person on this list. Yeah, Yeah, I am not as high on Lester Hayes. Maybe I have to go back and watch a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
I'll fully admit to that. He is one of the. I will say this: I think there are 16 of these people I'd vote for the Hall. I
Mhm.
just have them further down behind some other folks. So,
No, that's fair. That's fair.
but that said, if Lester Hayes got elected, would I be upset? No, 100%. I would not be upset.
Well, there's no one here I'd be upset. There might be a couple, but
There'd be a couple you'd be like, really?
yeah,
But
but no, there's no one that would make me upset. Uh, I guess what here's a hint. I
yeah,
feel
I was gonna say,
bad.
except the next guy, I'd be like, really?
Yeah, and it just
No offense to Chris Hinton or his family. So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. But well,
this is
seven,
his third time. This is his third time as a semifinal.
yeah,
So, it's not like he hasn't been here before.
seven Pro Bowls. First time or what? First time. One time All Pro, first team All Pro. Obviously, a great offensive lineman, and
Mhm.
it's again. I agree. I think I'm thinking what you're thinking. Nothing against him. It's just we've got some linemen here that we've got higher than him.
Yeah, I mean, there are several people ahead of him. If he got in over them, I'd be like, what the heck's going on here? So,
Right. Cecil Isbell is one of only two pre-1950 guys.
mhm.
First guy to throw for 2,000 yards. Only played 5 years though. Four Pro Bowls. Uh, I, I don't know. I
Yeah,
did,
it's not enough for me. He's on the other side of guys who I'd be like, I'm not quite sure about
yeah,
that.
and it's one of those weird things too, because like his last year was his best year. That's the year he threw for over 2,000. To be fair, that was 42. So
Mhm.
if he would have kept playing, so 43, that's when World War II or the United States entered, because you follow what Canada does. No,
Well, if the Japanese had attacked Vancouver Island, then you would have gotten in earlier too. So,
they did. It just what you just didn't pay attention.
oh, did they?
No, they
Does
didn't.
Canada even have a history?
I we could go into a long, deep discussion as to sort of like what I think we kind of have, and I think you already know a bit of that. But yes, our history is not nearly as colorful, let's say.
Yes. So,
Saying that, the interesting thing is Isbell retired at his peak, could have obviously kept playing,
mhm.
went into coaching probably because he got more money.
Yeah.
Now there was no Hall of Fame then, so it's not like he's thinking, if I don't do this, I'm not going to get in the Hall of Fame. What's a Hall of Fame?
Hmm.
And
Right.
even though there was one in baseball, it's not like you're thinking about that. And
Right.
yeah, I didn't just only due to longevity, but that's sort of an interesting thing as we look at some other people coming up.
Yeah. I just don't. There isn't enough there for me.
Yeah.
I know Terrell Davis got in essentially in 5 years, but Terrell Davis's 5 years may be some of the greatest 5 years in the history of the league.
Also, we can
Isbell's,
look.
it's hard.
Well, also we can look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know. He's on the other side.
Yeah. Someone he's my last guy in. Joe Jacoby, offensive lineman, 3 Super Bowls with the Redskins. One of my first interviews for the site was with a guy who was one of the Hogettes.
Okay.
And it was basically, I think his Twitter handle was why was like Jacoby for the Hall. And we just sort of like had a nice discussion about that. It was sadly it's not audio recorded. That was before I do all this stuff. But uh
Mhm.
Jacoby, when you look at the Redskins of those 3 championships that they had, two crap quarterbacks. Sorry, I know everyone. It's Doug Williams is a great story, but Doug Williams was not good in the overall scheme of things. He just wasn't
Okay. Okay.
massively important, but he wasn't. He wasn't great.
Mm.
Their line was they've had different running backs. So like you have 3 quarterbacks, one decent one in Theismann, an and an one
Mhm.
good running
Yeah.
back, and then
Mark
two.
Griffin was definitely So
Exactly. Uh, it's sort of fun. Like Doug Williams to me is like Willie O'Ree in hockey. massively important, uh, good enough to sort of like do what he was doing. Probably should have, but by the time he really got that thing in Washington, I mean, he should have had more opportunity in Tampa. But that's
Right.
neither here nor there. We're not talking about Doug Williams. We're talking about Joe Jacoby. Uh, there's only one member of that famous line in.
Grim.
Right. Jacoby, I honestly think does have a spot.
Mm-hmm.
But
I have him. I have him second on the offensive lineman on this list.
Me too.
But he's probably number 9 or 10 on mine.
Okay.
Right now.
This one's tricky for me. I didn't vote. I wouldn't have voted for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just on the other side for me too. I would vote for him, but not this year.
And so we're talking about Billy White Shoes Johnson. So it's hard to say no to somebody who's on the 100th anniversary team.
Yeah.
But we're still talking special teams. We're still talking returners. We're still talking somebody who is there not even 14% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
We're still talking about one of the most exciting players of the 1970s. So.
right. But then we saw somebody better in Devin Hester, where the restrictions were a lot greater.
True. So
White Shoes is on barely on the outside looking in. He's somebody if he went through. Oh, I should have asked. Jacoby, he's been a semifinalist a few times, right? So
10 times. So, and by the way, I count any time if they were finalists before we knew about semifinalists, I was count them as a semifinalist.
Right.
But yeah, so 10 times for Jacoby. Bailey White Shoes is his second last year and this year, first 2 times.
Okay, so we have another offensive lineman, another great player, but not on my 12. Mike Penn, 6 Pro Bowls on crappy Falcons teams.
Yep, this is his 6th time as a semifinalist. No, I'm searching the word Ken, Kenn on my list. I guess every Kennedy is showing up. So he's the first time he was a semifinalist would have been 2015. So he's been now 6 times since 2015. Hasn't really gotten close to the ballot before. I still think this group is too tough for him.
Yeah, he won't this year either.
Yeah, he needs Jacoby and or the next guy on the list to get in before he's really under consideration.
And this is where it's interesting because the next guy is Bob Kuechenberg, 2-time Super Bowl winner.
Who legitimately should be in if people didn't think he was a jerk. And they actually voted for the final 5. He was a finalist, one of the final 5, 2 separate occasions, and they didn't vote him
in. And you hit the nail on the head. I'm glad you did because I was going to bring that up. Bob Kuechenberg is very disliked these days. I think he's passed away since.
Yeah, he did. He passed away 3 or 4 years ago.
I'm amazed. When you look at pictures of him when he played, you thought he was 74. He looked like Sean Connery's dad when Sean Connery was playing Harrison Ford's dad. But Kuechenberg was one of the best. I had the chance to talk to a mutual acquaintance of ours, Richmond Webb, who is obviously following in that footsteps. Who got to talk to Bob a few times and just was just like as you would expect, more upset that he's not in than he's not been considered. Right? Because
more upset Kuechenberg's not in than that he personally is not being considered.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Did he multiple times, so I want to make sure it's clear for
Sorry, no, yeah. Anyway, yeah. That was a call.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes,
yeah, so he passed away in 2019. So I was right, it was 4 years ago for Kuechenberg.
Yeah, and definitely deserves it. George Kuntz, another offensive lineman. I'm high on, but he's not on my 12.
Yeah, he's not on my 12 either. I was doing this a little bit by position as to who I'm putting in and who I'm not. And Kuechenberg and Jacoby are just above.
Well, why not do that? I mean, we don't know how they're coming up with their 12 either.
Correct.
So we're trying to come up with that. I do positionally think, admittedly, as I'm doing this, it's sort of like when we're doing our revisited project because it'll be more interesting when it becomes more that way. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like Kuntz, but I don't have him either. The next one, I'm
It's
fascinated by.
Kuntz's third time on the list, by the way.
Okay, great. Well, here's somebody. If you would have told me 2 years ago, would have
Mm-hmm.
been a finalist and a semifinalist, I would have said you're nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's cornerback Albert Lewis. Going
Mm-hmm.
back to Jack, and also I believe the Schlegel daddy. You can follow him on Twitter, Jeff Schlegel. Uh, they've they're bigger on Albert Lewis than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Cornerback, 4 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pros, 42 picks. I'm still not completely sold on him, and I keep wondering because when Jack is so big on somebody, then I think, what am I missing? You know, he's just that good.
Yeah. So Albert Lewis is someone who I have beating out Lester Hayes, just so you know.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's just he was a finalist last year. That was his first time on the ballot. That was his second time as a semifinalist. His
Yeah.
first time was back in 2013. So you're in 2013 as a semifinalist, didn't show up again until as a semifinalist in 2023, got on the ballot and didn't get in. I have Lewis as my top cornerback for going through all
Oh,
this.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, depending on how you feel about one player, he's my top cornerback. So,
All right, fair. Someone I've just been watching because I've just been doing a deep dive on Super Bowl IX. I'll promote that later. Jim Marshall, defensive end, 21-year pro, 20 with Minnesota. Uh, Pretty much the ultimate haul of very good for a very long time. And I'm torn on him. I did not give him one of my nods, even, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this guy.
forever.
No, no, yeah, yes, forever. Marshall. Okay, Vikings fans, I get why you pound the pavement for him. I totally do. I guess it keeps getting stuck that at no point do I ever think he was really the best Viking defensive player on his team. More often than not, he wasn't even in the top two. Saying that, not that long ago, I made sort of a pitch as he was an elevator up because Pro Football Reference went on 19. They unveiled their unofficial sacks, which we all probably consider them official in our minds, and probably the voters too. From 1960 to 1981, Marshall then goes up to 131.5 sacks. There's not a lot of people above him in that category that aren't in the Hall. One's interesting because it's Coy Bacon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I forgot who the other one is, but it's not by much.
The question is Coy Bacon ahead of Jack Ham. Yeah. So I have Marshall as my 11th.
Okay.
I do have him in. I know you're making the argument that at no point was he, the second best player on his defense. So if you're the third best player on one of the most historically dominant defenses of all time,
that didn't win, by the way.
Okay.
No, I'm just throwing shit at a wall here, Evan. I don't know.
So if the Bears don't win the Super Bowl in '85, because that was the only time they got there, right? Bears don't win the Super Bowl in '85. Singletary, Dent. Well, really, is there anyone else from that?
No, just those two. They still get in.
Interesting.
Well, no, sorry, no, that's not true. Jimbo Covert.
Oh, Jimbo Covert. Yeah, but he was offensive lineman.
That's right. Yeah, Covert's an interesting one too. Covert doesn't get in.
Yeah, Covert does get in. Peyton does still. So actually, they haven't gotten really any push from having won. No Dave Duerson. No.
Well, we're gonna go here a little bit later. So.
Oh yeah. Yep. But a little bit later, as in 2 people. So I did vote for Marshall.
Okay. Clay Matthews, linebacker. He is a very interesting candidate. 4-time Pro Bowler, 82.5 sacks. Again, sort of the same thing. Was he ever even in the top 4 of his position? Close. He was close to that. Here's my open plea again to Jennifer Matthews. Look, we all know that if you're going to advance a little bit, you know this ahead of time. Don't go like, today's the day. Because if you do that, if you keep doing that, like you just look stupid.
Fair
Having,
enough.
having
He's just
said that,
trying to support.
I love my
Trying to
dad
support.
too, but if you haven't figured it out by now, if you don't know this
And
by now,
you will never, ever, ever know this.
right?
All right, we're
Clay's
definitely
not.
getting it.
Yeah, well, Clay's not one of mine. But I think he will
It
be.
would it would take a very short list for Clay to be one of mine. I just am not a Clay Matthews guy at all.
But he was a finalist, was he not last time?
Yep, in his last year.
No, but even
And I
last time
thought,
because he was part of this pool
oh,
too.
I'm sorry, he's got finals for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yes.
So he's
This
probably
is his eighth time. This is his eighth time as a semifinalist.
yeah. So
And no,
he's
I'm
probably,
sorry. He was not one of the people advanced last year.
oh, he wasn't. Oh, okay. I
He
couldn't
was
recall.
not, no.
Okay,
No, he was.
okay. Well, you're
I'm I'm just not a Clay Matthews guy. I'm sorry,
not
guys.
either.
I just if anyone listening, I'm willing to listen, but I'm not there.
Mm. Well, never mind that shit. Here comes Mongo.
Yeah, there's another 85 bear for you.
Steve Mongo McMichael. I can't wait. Actually, what we're gonna do, Evan, at one point. Oh wait, no, they lost that game too. Shit. Oh, I know you don't care. You're a Pats fan. One of the games I want to do on the series I do with Paul Lawrence, I want to do the Bears game that they lost to Miami.
Okay. Oh, for the one game they lost in 85.
Yeah. Because I read that Mongo, because when they shot the Super Bowl shuffle, they did it
Mhm.
after this game, and Mongo said, "We just lost. I'm focused. I'm focusing." Mongo's not on that.
Good for him.
Yeah. Defensive tackle, no tackle with nearly 90 sacks. Again, we're going to promote Jack Silverstein. He's got a great thread on Mongo
Mhm.
that made me rethink things. Not enough to make him one of my 12, but I
I'm
wonder.
not I'm not there yet on McMichael either, but I'm considering.
Well, I wonder if he had that kind of power that he got here. I'm dead serious on that.
Who knows? But I mean, there have been a lot of people pounding the table for Mongo here. I mean, the next two after him, I mean, they're the three guys from the one-time Super Bowl team who everybody's big on: Peanut Tillman, Olin Kreutz, and um oh my god, the linebacker played next to Urlacher, starts with an S.
Briggs.
Briggs. Oh yeah, I had Spriggs and I knew that was wrong. And Briggs. Those are the next three guys everybody's real big on. But McMichael is way up there. So
Let me throw this out at you. Not that I want to be morbid, but it's a reality. Steve, unfortunately, is suffering from ALS.
yes,
One of the worst, if not the worst diseases I could think of.
it sucks.
Is there an emotional component here getting into this point? And I don't know because I don't know who nominates this.
No, there's no way to know. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
But this is his first time ever, even as a semifinalist.
That's
so,
yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, Eddie Medar, defensive back for the Rams, superstar throughout the 60s. 6 Pro Bowls, 46 picks. I really like this guy. He was barely made it for me.
He's barely off for me. I loved him when he sang Jeremy. Just kidding. But so this is his third
Which
time
I
in
knew he sounded
semifinals.
like because then I was going to do an impression, but then I just realized I don't know what Eddie Medar sounds. I was going to do Eddie Mecca from Laverne and Shirley, who played the big ragu, but that wouldn't have worked.
Jeremy spoken, class to do. No, so Eddie Medar, this third time in a row as a semifinalist. He advanced to the final group last year. I have him just off, but again, someone who is in consideration for me.
All right, well, this one's right up your alley. I don't
Mhm.
get it, frankly. But you would know this, but no, and it's not that I wouldn't love him in his peak as a Saint, but Stanley Morgan,
Mhm.
wide receiver, 10,716 yards, 72 Ts. Am I missing something? Maybe I'm missing
So
something.
you know how Julian Edelman has that second most yards ever thing.
Ah,
He has the most receiving yards per reception of anyone with 10,000 or more yards.
Okay.
So his average yards per reception is like 19. I don't have it in front of me. It's like 19.2. It's some ridiculously high number.
Got it. Okay.
And he was playing with, no offense to Steve Grogan.
Steve Grogan.
Yeah, Grogan's best attribute was that neck collar he had that went on 3/4 of his back, like he was some Victorian nobleman.
The worst one was Brian Cox, I think.
Yeah, Cox is
I'm going to checkmate that. Yeah.
Yeah, when he played that 1 year for the Patriots, I was having flashbacks to the Grogan days. Yeah, I mean Grogan, he had Tony Eason, he had he had Hugh Millen, not even Matt Millen, he had Hugh Millen, Scott Secules. Like we're not talking a murderer's row of quarterbacks throwing to him.
So you're telling me he's discount Henry Ellard?
Maybe Henry Ellard probably had better QBs. Like if you switch Mark Duper and Stanley Morgan, his yards are an additional 3,000 to 4,000.
Okay.
So I mean that's what it comes down to with him. He was incredibly good. He and Ben Coates are the two offensive weapons for the Patriots, or I think are going to get forgotten over time here. And
well, Coates not with me. I love Coates.
Yeah, Ben just watch some Ben Coates highlights. It's ridiculous what he did. But Morgan is my last guy I did not vote for. He was my divided line between 12 and 13.
Okay.
I love Stanley Morgan. I highly recognize that he's only probably going to be a Patriots Hall of Famer ever. This is his fourth time as a finalist or as a semifinalist. He's not been one of the finalists as far as we know. I still remember the first time they said that Morgan was under consideration, which was 2020. I was like, Stanley Morgan's under consideration? Really? They've remembered him? But my guess is Ron Borges is he's a prickly guy who I don't like, but he does like the old Patriots, mainly because he hates Bill Belichick. And so anything he knew to bring up the old Patriots is something he's going to do. So Stanley Morgan is probably one of his pet projects and is going to continue to be here as long as he's on the nominating committee.
Okay. Tommy Nobis, Mr. Falcon, linebacker, I think the first ever pick from the Falcons, played there for 11 years, 5-time Pro Bowler, great college player, really good football player for the Falcons when they had Tommy Nobis.
Yeah. If you don't know this by sorry.
Well done.
Thank you. I was singing that earlier when you were singing. So Tommy Nobis, this is his fifth consecutive time as a semifinalist, as a senior candidate. So going back to the 2020 year, he did not advance last year. Oh no, I'm sorry, he did advance last year. So he's probably a little bit more on the radar with them than he is with me. I did not vote for him.
My last guy out.
But he's somebody I can see getting in at some point here coming up.
Wouldn't bother me. Wouldn't bother me
either. And there again, teams complain about being underrepresented. The Falcons are crazily underrepresented in the Hall of Fame.
To be fair, they're not exactly the best fan base.
And they haven't been the greatest franchise either. So
they have not. I mean, think about this. The greatest advocate for Matt Ryan ever getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to be from a guy from Long Island who's not a Falcons fan. And he's got a lot of good points. We'll be promoting something that he's got to say later. Art Powell, one of my guys, 60s AFL star and two-time receiving champ in the AFL, 5 Pro Bowl, AFL All-Stars, 2-time first team All-Pro. I mean, I love some of these old AFL guys. There's not a lot left that I want to pound the pavement for. Powell's one of them, personally.
Okay.
81 touchdowns. He's on mine, but not. When I say pound, it's like, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. This came down to positions again for me, right? So I have 3.5 wide receivers. We'll get to why one's a half coming up. So with already having three people who mainly played wide receiver, Powell just fell short for me. This is his first time ever as a semifinalist, by the way,
Okay.
as far as we know. But yeah, there are a few people still left. You want a candidate from back in the day? There are a couple of Patriots, Houston Antwine and John Morris, both of whom were elected Patriots Hall of Fame as senior candidates because even Patriots fans forgot them. But both those guys for the AFL years, John Morris was probably the best center from the AFL.
Oh my God, he was so good from everything I've read. Yeah.
So, and he's never come up here. So if voting in Powell gets me John Morris under consideration, I'm more than happy with that. So I have no problem with Powell getting in. Again, like I said, I just have Ellard, and my last three guys below are the 2.5 other candidates. So,
well, again, going back to Jack, buddy, you better be watching the shit, man. Sterling Sharp, wide receiver, Packers. Again, he's a Bears guy, but
Sterling Sharp is ridiculous. Sterling Sharp is a ridiculous player. He was just so freaking good. I was a Patriots fan, and I thought that Sterling Sharp was one of the best receivers I've ever seen play.
He was basically let's say the Packers were championship material. He was wide receiver to Earl Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
65 TDs, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pros in a very brief amount of time because he could not compile.
Yep. So Sharp did advance to the finals last year. It's his third time as a semifinalist. This is the third time in a row. Where's the other one? It is his third time in a row. But he was one of the people advanced last year. He has I don't know if he's getting in this year, but he's probably in the 4 to 6 group is my guess for this year for people. I don't think he quite gets in, but he's got momentum going his way. So my thought is he's in the next 2. He's in before 2025 when this new system is over. Put it that way. I don't think it's 2020. Well, is it 2025 they're doing it over? Or is it 2026? I remember.
I don't recall.
I don't recall either. So I thought it was 5 years. By the time this 5 years is over, I think he's in. I just don't know if it's 2024.
Well, if we're going to look at special teamers, it's Steve Tasker all the way. Tasker, if you watched a lot of Buffalo like I did, you understand why there's a big Pro Football Hall of Fame case for him, saying that what do you compare it to? Who's his doppelganger in Canton? There isn't one.
Yeah, there isn't.
Man.
Yeah. So,
God.
I was going to say, I watched a lot of Steve Tasker because I watched my Patriots get annihilated by the Bills as a small child over and over and over again, which is also probably why I'm so high on Cornelius Bennett and Darryl Talley as well as candidates going forward. Cornelius Bennett in particular, by the way, also a former Falcon, right? Talley definitely was. I think Bennett was.
Yeah, I mean that's also why I can pound for Cam Newton as a Saints guy. I know what he is. The people kick your ass repeatedly. Like I know Wayne Corbett is never going to sniff the Hall of Fame, but I never want to see him on the other side of the field against my team ever again, which I don't have to worry about. But like, there are just certain people who are like, oh my God, again, this guy. I felt like that was Steve Tasker. Tasker's this is his 10th time as a semifinalist. He's never been a finalist before. He fell off the main ballot 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah.
I voted for him. He's going to be an interesting case because I always said the only way he was getting in was through the senior pool. I have him ahead of Billy White Shoes.
I do too.
Again, by position. And this is my half wide receiver, as I said, because technically he's a wide receiver.
Okay. I should have picked up on that. I didn't.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver in the same way that Matthew Slater is a wide receiver for the Patriots. So
let's go there because Slater is somebody I like him too. Matthew Slater can never get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame unless Steve Tasker does. I am.
Yeah, of course. Agreed. So I would vote for Tasker. I don't think he's getting in this year, but I'm not shocked if he's in within the next three.
I vote for him, but I predict he will not get into the next 12.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. Uh, Someone I've got as the best Kansas City Chief not in, Otis Taylor, wide
Mhm.
receiver, two-time AFL leader or AFL champ. Sorry, one-time receiving yard reception champion, 7306 yards, 57 touchdowns, three Pro Bowl, three, well, the way that conversion, two-time first team All Pro. Like him a lot, but I don't think there's any momentum behind him at all.
Yeah, I actually voted for Taylor.
Yeah.
By the way, Steve Tasker, going back to, don't think he's going to advance. He wasn't even a semifinalist last year. So it wasn't even like he didn't even have a chance to advance. He was on 2 years ago, but not last year. So but going back to Taylor, I really like Taylor. I think Taylor is an incredibly underrated receiver in the history of the game. Um, this is probably my AFL guy. On this list, so I'm very pro Taylor. He's not my top six, but he's in that 7 to 12 group, probably 9 or 10 as a candidate. I do hope he gets in. I hope he gets advanced. I feel more for him than I do for Powell.
Oh, fair. Everson Walls, Cowboys cornerback, 4 Pro Bowls, first team All Pro one time. Not my list. Some interceptions though, but I I
Still,
I don't know.
still the most surprising finalist of my life. Like the 1 year he was on the ballot, you're like, wait, where did Everson Walls come from? Um,
For me, it's
it was
still Albert Lewis because no, that's not. Bryant Young.
Yeah, and Bryant Young's in the Hall. So,
Yeah.
um, but Everson Walls, this is only his third time as a semifinalist, and he has not been on the ballot once. He's only been back
Mhm.
twice since then. Last year and this year, he did advance to the final group last year. He's probably got a better chance than I'm giving him, but he's not someone I'm voting for.
Mhm.
He
And
does have the benefit. He does have the benefit of being a cowboy. So,
that is a benefit.
mhm.
And the last guy, my last vote to Al Wistert, the second person that I mentioned who was sort of active before the 50s, tackle in the 40s, 4-time All Pro, 2-time NFL. If I'm going to go with people I haven't seen or can't see, I went with him. But yeah, it's only because Labby Dillweg isn't here. Not
Fair
'cause
enough.
that makes the most sense to me from what I've read and from what I've learned.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but what's the impetus to put in somebody who not only is he dead, but his kids are dead? If he's got kids, I don't know. I'm not trying to be insensitive here. I hope it doesn't come off that way, but
Yeah, when there's so many great living Hall of Famers now, why
yeah,
not really get them in first? Or for potential Hall of Famers. I get it. I didn't vote for Wistert either. I have heard the arguments on it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know enough
mm,
about him as a player to feel like I'm going to vote for him over anybody else.
yeah,
Um, this is his second time as a semifinalist. The last time was on when the people did get elected in 2020. Um, He wasn't here last year. I don't think he's probably going to advance this year. I'd be
yeah.
surprised. But he's here. So
I think also
and Lavi
too.
Dowegan. So
Well, I was just gonna say, it's sort of like as someone now that I'm trying to do this whole project, right? With the Pro Football Hall of Fame revisited, you do see who gets no support when you're sort of
Mhm.
like on this side. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
do we want to keep kicking that can? Yeah, okay, the fans might want that, but if it's not coming back, why do it?
Exactly. Yeah,
So I wonder if that's why Dillweg's not here.
maybe.
I mean, that's the only thing I can sort of think of because, like, from everything I've read and everything I've learned, that makes the most sense. But okay, I mean, I don't know. All right,
Yeah.
coaches contributors. We'll go through this a little bit quicker. Bud Adams Jr. great resume. Founder of the Houston Oilers, that later became the Titans. Two-time AFL champions.
Yep. I mean, fourth time as a semifinalist. He wasn't there 2 years ago, but was there 2020, 21, 23, and now 24. They're just better owner candidates, in my opinion. So he's not someone.
Great. Someone I'm huge on only because I just love the whole media. Vinny would be great for this, but Rune Arledge, pretty much the mastermind behind Monday Night Football. And historically speaking, guys, it's that big what he brought.
Yeah, I mean, of the people you can put in the media, the one person who I've never seen on here, and I still understand why John Facenda hasn't shown up anywhere.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But like Rune Aldridge and John Facenda are my next two media type people who I put in for football. And Arledge is here. No problem if he gets in. I don't think he will, but no problem if he gets in. I'm pretty sure there are only two people who this really could be who are getting in this time. So
yeah, we'll probably have the same too.Cio Mercado, who was a scout with the Oilers. He was a nominee last year, from what I remember. So I had to look him up, and I didn't know who he was last year. I'll admit.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin, or Coughlin. Yeah. Sorry. What is that? Tom Cochran. Sorry.
First time as a semifinalist.
Yeah. But 2 Super Bowls, one as an assistant. Here's some interesting ones here. Alex Gibbs, longtime offensive line coach.
Hold on. Can Eli Manning get in before Tom Coughlin?
Yes.
I think he will. Someone pointed out today that there's that show, The Quarterbacks.
I haven't seen it yet on Netflix, but yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
So I haven't seen it yet either, but it's Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota are the 3 quarterbacks they're following.
Okay.
And someone said that Kirk Cousins is Eli Manning without the Super Bowls. And I couldn't decide who that was an insult to. or whether, and because of that, it's probably accurate.
Well, so. I'm gonna tell you this right now. You're the reason I'm not gonna watch that, because you told me how Patrick's wife comes off.
Oh yeah.
And other things. I just know how Patrick's brother comes off. I know nothing about his wife.
She's worse.
No.
Maybe not. That's unfair to her. That's unfair to Jackson, who's really that mad. So, yeah, it's not.
Okay, all right. A conversation for another time, because
conversation another time. An interesting person next for their first time, Alex Gibbs.
I thought so. Longtime offensive line coach, and then I was looking through through a deep dive. This is where I wish maybe Tom Hall was here. Tom's done a great job, sort of like promoting Tom Nolan for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So here's the offensive line coach for a lot of that through the Denver Broncos, and apparently a guru for everything regarding the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some great offensive line coaches of all time. Gibbs is up there, and it makes me feel good that maybe Dante Scarnecchia, who was the Patriots offensive line coach for like 35 years and was just elected Patriots Hall of Fame this year, might get some consideration in the future. I still think we need more coordinators, someone like Jim Johnson of the Eagles, right? Guys like that who never either were never
a great list here, though, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but in terms of we're never either head coaches or failed as head coaches. We're really good when they're coordinators. I hope we see some more of those people, and Alex Gibbs is a really good person to see.
Yeah,
I don't think he's getting in, by the way, but
no, I don't either. But I see the point. For me, this is my number one, and always will be. Ralph Hay. He's the guy who came up with the whole idea of the National Football League. Yeah, it was only 5 years. This is still his vision.
Yeah. Ralph Hay is someone who should definitely be in. Actually, the 2 people I think are going to be in are coming right up behind him. Hay is somebody I think is on the radar, but I don't think is going to be leading the charge since they're only putting one person.
Same reason. I mean, like, what is Are his grandkids even alive? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It's just amazing me he didn't get in with the 2020 class.
Yeah, and if you're wondering who that is, basically he came up with this whole idea. There were loose affiliations. He said, "Let's put a league together." Did so, and this is what we have. Didn't
Yep.
stick around
So,
that long, but honestly, I don't give a shit
yep. It's
personally.
almost like having the Basketball Hall of Fame without James Naismith,
Yeah,
or the Baseball Hall of Fame without Abner Doubleday. It just kind of feels like that's who this is. I don't think he's going to get in. I would
I don't
not be
either.
upset any way,
I don't
shape, or
either.
form he got in.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's getting in next. So
All right, so we got Mike Holmgren.
this is one of my two people I think has the best shot.
I hope not. Nothing against Holmgren. It just, to me, he's lower in the queue, but who he is, two-time Super Bowl champion as assistant with the Niners, champion with the Packers, overall record 161 111. He's on the radar. I agree with you that he's over that queue of someone like Ralph Hay. I don't have a problem with him in the Football Hall of Fame. I got other people ahead of him. That's all.
I got that. I got that too. I just thinking though, Super Bowl champion as coach, brought another completely different team that
Yeah.
was pretty much a moribund team to the Super Bowl. Also was general manager of that team that got them there. I just think when Vermeil got in, Holmgren was one of the people who everyone was like, well, why is Holmgren not in, right?
That's
So they
fair.
changed
I
the
agree
rules
with
last
you.
year that got Coryell in. Um,
Mhm.
there's another player, there's another coach further down who I definitely have higher than Holmgren. And I would not vote for Holmgren for the spot. If it were up to me, like if I could choose one, that's not the guy. But he's no worse than fifth on this list for getting
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I actually have top two just because of his name recognition more than anything.
Uh, I'll tell you my top two. Well, one's Ralph Hay. The second one I'll tell you later.
Okay.
So we're gonna get there.
Well, I'm saying Holmgren's one of my top two. I think it's getting in, not one of my top two.
no, fair. Yeah, I understood. Sorry. Someone I think overall belongs is Bucko Kilroy.
Former Patriots GM.
As a player, he was really good. He's got a resume as a player and was part of the Patriots build. So
Yep.
this is why he's here. Eddie Kotal, I might be mispronouncing. Apologies if I am. Assistant coach from the Rams from the 40s, and it didn't even say like for how long. So,
yeah,
guys, I'm sorry.
I have nothing to say on him other than if he gets in, something weird happened.
Well, my number two might be your number, like so high for you, and that's Robert Kraft, Bob Kraft.
Yeah, Robert Kraft is one of the ones I would vote for, and one of the ones I think is one of the favorites to get in. Kraft is 83 years old now. Mm-hmm. The massage parlor debacle is now 4 years in his rear view, 5 years now in his rearview mirror.
Which shouldn't be an issue at all. I don't give a fuck, frankly.
I'm telling you, but they couldn't do it right away afterwards, right?
No, you're right. But yeah, go
on. But he is certainly, I mean, he was still negotiating stuff now that's important to the league. So, and he was the go-between. Did you read the whole article on what's his name in Washington? Who's leaving, the owner? Why can't I think of his name right
Snyder?
now? Snyder.
No, I didn't send it to me later.
The person who's basically in charge of trying to get the cleanup after the racial allegations came out about John Gruden. The person who was in charge, basically took control of that, was Bob Kraft. Using his like connections to, of all people, Jay-Z. He's like best friends with Meek Mill. Like, he's a weird dude. Bob Kraft, who he hangs out with.
Okay, well, he's not weird. It's just like, how do I put it? When you look at like Robert or Bob Kraft, it's like, here's my friend base. And
yeah,
like, you just want to like, yeah, that's our
like,
racial prejudice, man.
he'll have a box with like Meek Mill and John Bon Jovi in it. And you're like, who are you? But
No
yeah,
one
I
is
think
someone who just says like, okay, do I like you? I
yeah,
like that.
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But Kraft
Let's be
is
blunt, man. I mean, like, I'm a centrist, you're a leftist. Some of the people that we do this stuff with are not in our political sphere,
oh,
and we
great.
don't care.
Yep, agreed. I actually met with a client today up at his house, and he had a fundraising letter for DeSantis sitting on his
Mhm.
table. Guess what? I still helped him. So uh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way things work. But anyway, I think Kraft is the most deserving owner. If we're going to put an owner in at this point, it's got to be Kraft.
Yeah. And whether you agree with him politically or not, it's him.
Yep.
It's like I was just sort of like doing a whole deep dive on Alan Page because I'm doing the whole thing on Super Bowl IX. All right. Trump is the one who gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I don't
Yep.
care. Please tell me,
Yeah.
leftists, why Alan Page shouldn't be. You can't.
No. So.
But anywho, Elmer Layton.
Yeah. Let's
Let,
go ahead.
yeah, let's move on. Elmer Layton, he was the commissioner from 41 to 46. I'm not huge on this from everything I've been reading, so I hope he doesn't get any further.
This is his first time on the ballot too.
Yeah. Basically, right before his watch, and the AAC sort of showed up. So there you go. That's enough for me. Jerry Markbright worked his way to referee in 77, was there all the way till instant replay, but there's better refs here. So, okay, you're now living in Chicago and you're a Pats fan. Uh, from everything I've read, Virginia McCaskey is not very well liked there. Am I correct?
Difficult to tell.
Hmm?
I don't think Virginia McCaskey is disliked. I think her rest of her family is disliked more.
Okay.
Virginia McCaskey is just old. She's like 90 years old.
100. I read 100.
Oh, she's 100 years old. She's
Yeah.
very old and hasn't seeded everything over. Her sons are thought to be pretty much not the brightest and been holding everything back. She is the only woman anywhere on any of these lists, and she is 100. So,
Okay, but she still sucks, apparently.
Would you be shocked if they took the opportunity to put a 100-year-old woman into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Yes, if it was the NHL, they would, because they try to be woke. The NFL doesn't necessarily need to.
Dark horse candidate, Virginia McCaskey.
Well, all right.
Just
All right, Jack. If you're watching this, tell us why this should or should not happen.
It should not happen. I'm not saying it should.
No,
happen.
I don't know. I mean, it just. I'm just going from what I read because I
mean she's the last person left from the Hallis days. Like she's the last one. So
I'm the last one left from the Buchner days. Which
okay.
I don't know what that means. Let's move on.
Let's move.
Yeah. Rich McKay. I like this one, but he's not on my radar. GM for Tampa Bay pretty much built the, I won't say dynasty because it wasn't, but a team that was so good.
I mean, the team, he built a team that's going to have 5 defensive Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 now, maybe a 5th. With Sapp, Brooks, Rondays got in last year, and John Lynch.
Yeah.
So it's possible Simeon Rice gets in at some point. Work done is still on the radar from place to place.
He's the architect. And like Tampa, like, man, people forget how awful that team was for the first 15 years of their existence. Like goddamn awful.
How do you feel about the execution of your team? I'd be all for
it. That's a legit quote. Evan's not making that up. That really happened.
I'm not making it up. Yeah, that was the old I
can't remember, but yeah.
Head coach from the 70s.
Yeah. John McVay, here's a good one too. The vice president for the Niners, over 5 Super Bowls. I mean, Eddie DeBartolo is in.
Yeah.
But we know who did this. Art Modell. Hey, yeah.
Will never happen while he is alive.
He's dead.
Or is he dead?
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe. Sorry, you're right. It will never happen. It's not happening. The entire city of Cleveland would burn down.
Yeah.
They're too close. It's
Yeah.
Art Modell's not getting it.
Somebody was arrested for threat for actually pissing on his grave.
He's just watering, providing nitrates to the ground.
Oh, okay then. God,
Yeah.
God damn it, you right wing fuckers.
Keep
Somebody.
going.
Let's move on. Yeah,
Buddy Parker.
Buddy
Parker is the other guy I would vote for. So Buddy Parker and Kraft are my two.
him. For those wondering who that name is, basically the Detroit Lions at one point were good. Evan and I are old. I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very old. But the Lions at one point were a power in the 1950s, and their helm was run by Buddy Parker. 2 NFL championships, won 104 games against 75 losses. Parker probably should have been, well, not probably, he should have been in a long time ago.
Parker should have been a long time ago. He's my top coaching person. I think that name recognition is going to get Holmgren in before him. Although maybe now that Coryell's in, they moved to Parker. But I honestly think they did a coach last year. It's Kraft this year and Parker or Holmgren next year.
I'm with you. He's my number 3. The next ones aren't as big for me. Carl Peterson, longtime executive with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Dan Reeves, pretty good coach, but he didn't win a Super Bowl. But he's been to 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Art Rooney Jr., part of the greatest football family, period. But
yeah, are you going to put in every Rooney?
No, I'm not.
Rooney Mara is going to come up. We have Wellington Mara. We have so Rooney Mara, the actress, has got both names, so she's getting in at some point.
I was trying to think of another. Wasn't there a comic named Kevin Rooney?
There's Principal Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, have you seen what he's sort of done lately?
He and Gary Glitter can hang out whenever they want. So
well done.
Is Gary Glitter dead? Probably. I think he is. But anyway, let's keep going. Marty Schottenheimer, also not with us. Massively underrated. 200 career wins.
I never thought we were going to go to Gary Glitter. Hey!
Yeah.
Anyway.
Marty Schottenheimer's got 200 career wins, everybody.
Yeah. No Super Bowl, though. So he's low on that. Jerry Seaman, a senior director of officials. If you're going to do another official, I guess it's going to be him. But so he could sneak into the next 12. But
I think it would be a little ways till we see another official.
I think so. George Seifert, 5 Super Bowls, 3 as an assistant, 2 as the head coach. 114 and 62. Let's not sleep on him as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, taking them to the semis.
True.
But still, not one of my guys.
Fifth on my list, maybe 6th on my list of coaches on this list, though. I mean, I have Shanahan. Shanahan's definitely had it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Not ahead of that with Shanahan, 170, 138, 2 Super Bowls with Denver. If we're going to do an assistant coach or somebody who's the precursor to all of that, we've got Clark Shaughnessy.
7th time he's a most semifinalists here. He's 7th time.
Yeah. Continuing with Seymour Seeloff. That's actually who Vinny's going to talk about next. We'll go about that later. But the president and the CEO of Elias Sports Bureau, formed in 1952. I think a lot of us look at Pro Football Reference. I know that I do. Saying that somebody laid the groundwork and it was this guy. And it was one hell of a groundwork. And he was part of the Centennial class or nominees. Jim Tunney, an official from 1960 to 1990.
I remember Jim Tunney. He died not too long ago, I think, right?
Okay.
I think he just passed away.
And our last 2 were scouts. Lloyd Wells, who did a lot for the Kansas City Chiefs, scouting mostly with the HBCU, and John Wooten, scouting executive for Dallas, Philly, and Baltimore through the 60s, and won a Super Bowl with Dallas and with Baltimore at the end. So, there's some good names, but I think there is a more definite hierarchy here.
And again, we got a scout not too long ago, and Bill Nunn. And it's gonna be a while till there's a scout.
I think so. But
Yeah,
at least now we know.
I also think it's Parker or Kraft. I'd be surprised if it's anybody else. Holmgren and Hay are on the outside there sitting, looking in, but
Well, and we don't have Shrek knocking at any of these doors because none of them have a regular job. And I will maintain
Mhm.
nothing against Bill Cowher, something against Bill Cowher. If Bill Cowher did not have a job as an analyst, he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just so that
Let's play a quick game for it. Let's play a quick game.
I'm gonna
Cowher, Cowher or Shanahan?
Shanahan
Cowher or Holmgren?
tie
Ty. Cowher or Parker?
Parker
Cowher or Coryell?
or yeah, due to influence.
Yeah. I mean, Cowher or Seifert?
Oh, God. Remember George Seifert, after he retired as a coach, he was going to be an analyst and he stunk at it. If he
Mhm.
kept at that, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now, based on Shrek.
Maybe true. So, anyway, all right. So that's our list. It took a while to get
Right,
through,
yeah,
but
that took a long time. So let's get into who we lost over the past, I guess, 2 weeks, unfortunately, since
yeah. Let me just get to this quickly if I can get out for this. All right. I'm going to kind of skip through this. We didn't have any massive names because we have 2 more parts to get to after this.
yeah.
We had 2 quiet weeks from the Beige Mistress, by the way.
Yay.
Yay. So first person I want to bring up, just 2 people outside of what we normally do, but Hetty Simmons Love passed away at the age of 100. The first woman ever, first African-American ever, and also first African-American woman ever to get an MBA from Wharton in Pennsylvania. First was to ever get an MBA of African-American descent in the United States. Was 100 years old.
Oh, okay.
Also passing away, Lawrence Terman, who nominated for The Graduate, also did The Great White Hope, The Thing, Short Circuit, American History X, film producer, just did a whole bunch of things I enjoyed. He passed away at the age of 96.
Hmm.
From baseball, one-time All-Star and member of the World Series champion 1967 St. Louis Cardinals, Ed Brassode, I believe it's how you pronounce his last name, passed away at the age of 91. Played shortstop for the New York/San Francisco Giants, Red Sox, Mets, and Cardinals. His last game was with the win for the Cardinals in '67. He retired, but he was 91 years old. From the world of hockey, we lost a couple of folks. The 8th overall pick in 1968, Lou Morrison, passed away. Played 584 games for the Flyers, Atlanta Flames, Washington Capitals, and Penguins. Between 67 and 78, he was 75 years old. And Billy McMillan, member of the Prince Edward Island Hall of Fame. All the other guys are member of the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. Billy McMillan, member of the Prince Edward Island Sports Hall of Fame, passed away at the age of 80, a member of the 68 bronze medal winning team you guys had in Grenoble, and played for the Maple Leafs, Flames, Islanders between was that 70 and 76. So from the world of auto racing, Delano Van Hoff, 18 years old, died in a car crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the 1st of July. I missed it earlier. But he was only 18. He passed away at the Formula Regional European Championship race at Spa-Francorchamps in a heavy rain. But yeah, he was only 18 years old. So people still dying in car crashes at high speed during these things, which I suppose isn't surprising. But that's the one thing I learned when we started the NASCAR Hall of Fame, which we really haven't done much with in a while because I don't know.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I know. But I was the one who originally put everything together for the site.
Yeah.
We stopped because I don't know anything about sponsors and it didn't make any sense. But I did learn going through that how every person who died led to another change in NASCAR. It's very interesting. You'll never guess how Fireball Roberts died.
Wait, from fire?
Yeah.
Was he called that before?
What?
Was he called that before he died from?
He was called that before, yes.
Okay.
But they actually Fireball Roberts' death is why they have the mesh thing on the window on the driver's side now.
I hope that when I pass away, I'm called died during sex Buchner.
Mm. Yeah,
No, we're not going to run with that. Okay, sorry.
I'm not for your wife's sake. I'm going to keep passing.
It was who I
So
would have it with.
I'm trying to save her a traumatic experience, my friend. Um, from from the world of wrestling, at the age of 55, we lost Mike Halak, better known as
Mantar.
Mantar.
Yeah,
Yeah, he passed away at the age of 55. Anything to say about Mantar?
yeah, he sucked.
Oh, fair enough.
No, no, I don't really have a whole lot. In the mid '90s, there wasn't a whole lot of great gimmicks, and his gimmick was he was half man, half bull, and
Okay.
he was a Mantar, Minotaur, and he would
I
leave
got
the ring with a giant bull's head, and he couldn't figure out how to sort of get through. From what I read, though, he was like a really nice guy, just but
okay. So
yeah,
he had type 2 diabetes, but he died in his sleep later
54, right? Like that's not right.
earlier in the day. He fell and hurt his back, and
Oh,
was resting and died in his sleep.
mm,
So, but yeah, 55 years old is not old enough.
no.
Um, from the world of football, we lost a few folks here. First of whom is Fred Willis, running back for the Bengals and Oilers in the 70s.
Mhm.
23 touchdowns in his career, member of the Boston College Hall of Fame. He passed away at the age of 75. Also, Gene Gaines, another running back drafted by the Chargers, played for the Eskimo. I'm sorry, he played for the Alouettes, Ottawa Rough Riders, and Montreal Alouettes again. Member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-time All-Star, 4-time Grey Cup champion as a player, and then 4 more times as a coach. Passed away at the age of 85. Also lost Gary Allen, running back with Houston Oilers, Dallas Cowboys, Stampeders, and Blue Bombers. 2-time member of the University of Hawaii Hall of Fame. He
Okay.
passed away at the age of 63. It didn't say if he died from heart failure. Also passing away, Joe Campbell, a member of the Super Bowl 15 winning Oakland Raiders, defensive end, first 7th pick overall in the first round in 77, died of a heart attack at the age of 68. From the world of college sports, there's like some group I don't normally go to, but he was an interesting guy. Former athletic director Lou Perkins died at the age of 78. He won as athletic director. He won 5 championships at University of Connecticut, 1 in men's basketball, 3 in men's basketball, 1 in men's soccer, and then at the University of Kansas, won a national championship there. He had one national championship there, and also won the Big 12 back when that was a thing. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a tough end when a whole bunch of his underlings were selling tickets for money that he promoted. Turns out he didn't have much to do with it, but he promoted all the people. And then there were a couple allegations that he gave tickets for equipment, so he retired. But one of the great athletic directors, honestly, the last 30 years, passed away at the age of 78.
Yeah, we could do a whole deep dive in the NCAA, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah, it is a whole other
And you
story.
have, so.
I have, yes. So from the world of music, we lost Andre Watts, one of the great pianists of the last long time, passed away at the age of 77. actually born in Nuremberg in Allied occupied Germany. But as an American citizen, son of a Hungarian mother and a U.S. Army NCO. But one of the, I mean, just absolute prodigies of piano of the last, I guess, 50 years.
Yeah.
He passed away from cancer at the age of 77. Another one of those sidemen I love so much, Oscar Brashear, a jazz trumpeter from Chicago here, passed away at the age of 79, or 78. Again, played with Jerry Smith, Sonny Rollins, B.B. King, Bobby Bland, the Crusaders, Randy Newman. Oh, but that actually counts against him. Frank Sinatra, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Carole King, just like Ry Cooder, just goes on and on and on and on.
But other than that,
he passed away at the age of 78. Also, I don't want to talk about these people either, but Sam Cutler, whose real name was Brendan Lyons, passed away at the age of 80, one of the great tour managers of all time. He was a tour manager for the Rolling Stones, Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, the band, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, like New Riders of the Purple Sage, basically everybody. Just aren't that many people you just could talk about. You see his picture and you're like, oh no, he definitely was the guy who ran the Stones. If you ever look at his picture, he looks like
he ordered just the right amount of drugs.
Yeah, he looks like he and Keith Richards hung out for a long period of time. But he passed away at the age of 80. Just goes to show you, live however you want, you'll die at the ripe old age.
Keith is probably really scared right now. It's like, shit. I shouldn't joke this because now we're going to do an obit about him next week.
Yeah, well, maybe. Member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, Jerry Bradley, passed away. He is involved in the marketing of the first creation of the first platinum album in country music.
Okay.
Wanted the Outlaws, which took place in 1976. It was Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Tom Paul Glaser, and Jesse Coulter compilation album, but it was the first ever platinum album in the history of country music. Okay. He also worked with Brenda Lee, Loretta Lynn, Dinah Shore, Gordon Lightfoot, the Beau Brummels, Joan Baez. Like, you just keep going on and on and on and on. One of the great executives in the history of country music. He passed away at the age of 83. And then two people from women's basketball. Member of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, University of Maryland Athletics Hall of Fame, and Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame, Tara Heiss, passed away at only the age of 50. Am I doing this math right? Sorry, she was 66. Member of the 1980 U.S. Women's Olympic Team, played in the WPBL, which was the beginning of the women's professional leagues. But she was 66 years old, head coach at assistant coach in Maryland and Towson. But yeah, one of the great early women's basketball players. And also, I guess probably the biggest name to pass away this week, Nikki McRae Penson passed away. Another member of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Played the WNBA for 8 seasons. Head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs at one point. But she passed away. She was also a gold medal winner in 96 and 2000 in Sydney and the 98 World Championship games. But yeah, she was only 51.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. So, so that's everybody I got.
All right. So next up is elevator up, elevator down.
Elevator up, elevator down.
What that is I look at the past week, or I guess in this case 2 weeks, and say who has made a better case for elevator up for their respective hall and who hasn't. I've got 2 for elevator up, and one I just said. Last time we did this, because it was 2 weeks ago, I said Tracy Chapman was an elevator up, and since that time, she's been getting a lot more attention. Not because of her own doing, just because I saw her trend on Twitter at least 3 times, just based on other articles. Again, Evan and I, we're not qualified to talk about a white person sort of covering a black person's music and what that really means. Or maybe it just means this guy liked her song, which is probably more accurately the case. I said last time, and I'll state this again: Tracy Chapman's version of Fast Car shouldn't have been touched by any man. Period, white or black or anyone.
By anyone. Period.
Okay, well, if it's going to be done, I just don't see this done by a male.
Fine, fair enough.
Right, but if it's getting more attention on her and her Hall of Fame case, I'm great with that. Do you remember when you said that when you went to Parliament Funkadelic, you were the only white person in the crowd?
I think there were three of us, but yeah, there were not very many.
Yeah, I was looking at some like old footage of Tracy Chapman. I think the old in her concerts, the only three black people in that crowd were the band. So, well, I don't know what I'm really saying here, but I think I know what I'm saying. The people who would vote for this sort of stuff would be upset for Tracy, who may not be upset at all. Don't know. Tracy doesn't talk much. She never
does not talk. She's a very private person.
So here's what I hope. She still owns the rights to this song and is making a shit ton. Yeah. And if other people are sort of looking at this and saying, well, this is a great song. Oh, it's a cover? Oh, let's listen to this. Holy shit, this is better. Like a lot of people in the 50s did when Elvis did You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog and heard Big Mama Thornton. And like what happened when I spoke to the first person I ever did an interview with, oh God, I just blanked on his name. The drummer for Little Richard.
Oh yeah, who passed away a few years ago. I can't
crap. I'm so sorry. This is not I went off on a tangent. I wasn't planning to do this. But he was a drummer for Little Richard, and I asked him when other people like Pat Boone were covering his stuff, what did you think? Like, I thought, oh, you're gonna be upset. Didn't care because he sought out what the real music was.
Yeah,
there you go. So Chapman's another elevator up, but my real elevator up is in tennis. Wimbledon, we have our female winner, and it's really interesting with Marketa Vondrousova. She's now ranked number 10. That's her highest rank. She's only won 2 titles, but they're both majors. It was the 2019 French Open, and that's interesting.
She's the first unranked woman ever to win a major. She was ranked 42 at the time it came in, and they now rank the top 32 players.
Yeah,
for these. It used to be just 16. Now it's 32. So she wasn't even ranked at all.
Right.
And
now the bar for the Tennis Hall of Fame is not that big.
It is not.
But 2 majors, even if it's only 2 titles, puts her in pretty decent company. Now, I've got an elevator down, and I meant to do this a couple of weeks ago after the All-Star game when I praised JD Martinez for sort of compiling, and I'm going to tell you about a better player than JD, who was not chosen as an All-Star, but is now trending downwards personally just due to compiling injuries. Someone who I think is a better player than JD Martinez. But I think he's trending in the wrong direction. Someone who's a 2-time MVP.
Aaron Judge?
No. Bryce Harper.
Oh, okay.
So Bryce Harper is now a full-time DH. He's 30 or about to be 30 or at this point. His power is gone. He can still hit for average. He's like batting over 290 as we're doing this. His OBP, I believe, is over 360 as we're doing this. But now we have somebody who's lost 2 tools, who's a 5-tool player. His B-WAR is higher than JD.
Okay.
I don't want to compare him to JD Martinez. That's not fair. But I'm just trying to put this in my own weird thought here because I've been looking a lot at Bryce Harper since his injury because he almost won a 3rd MVP. The other, like, he was doing super well, and then he got hurt bad. He's not the same player. And he never will be again. He probably won't play very many more games in the outfield ever again. He's only 4 home runs over 60 games. He's at 289 career right now. I don't know anymore.
I don't think he makes 400 is what you're trying to say.
I don't know that he makes 400. He's going to make 1,000 RBIs. He's like in the 800s right now. but Harold Baines has thrown everything off.
I know.
So, like, if I were to say to you, who would you rather have? Harold Baines over 15 years or Harper over 7? I think you and I both pick Harper over 7, right?
Probably. Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how things sort of progress.
I take Reggie Smith's 11 over Baines.
I love Reggie Smith. If you're wondering who he is, check that guy out because he was a very underappreciated player.
Fantastic signings in the late 70s.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Like weirdly, like towards his chin without going over here. One of the weirdest sideburns you're ever going to see in the late.
I tried as it because every now and then I keep having to, like as I said, I shave whether I need it or not. I was trying to do the Motorhead, the Lemmy from Motorhead.
Okay.
You're glad I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did, and then I just thought better of it.
Yeah. Next time everyone sees me, I will have shaved my beard. Maybe I'll just shave this part. I'll have the rest of it.
There you go. Time to play the game. So I wonder a lot about Harper because he's lost 2 tools pretty quick. Mm-hmm. He's not going to get them back. Like he might get the power back, but he's never playing in the field again. Mm-hmm. He might not make it to 50B WAR, which isn't a huge thing for me, but I'm not a voter. So I wonder, and yeah, he's got 2 MVPs. We've seen 2 MVP players not make the Hall before.
It's true, Dale Murphy.
Right. We've also seen players. I mean, if you want to look at the championship narrative, the year he left Washington, they won.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean as much in baseball, but it's still there, and it still might mean something to
Ewing theory, as Bill Simmons would call it.
There you go. So there's something to it. I don't even know that I'd consider him an elevator down for the last 2 weeks, but I've been watching him a lot this year, and this is the first time you can say, holy shit, he's not even the same guy anymore. Still a top 100 player, barely. But did he do enough? And does he have to take the role of a compiler? And if he's already lost this, what's he going to lose next?
Right.
If that, I don't know. I have nothing against Bryce Harper. I hope it doesn't sound like that.
Right, I get it.
My favorite quote is "Clown question, bro." I forget what it was about, but it's still something that I reference every now and then.
Cash money, homie.
There you go. And I watched a whole deep dive on Trevor Bauer's issues in Japan, and I thought, why did we really think that Harper was an asshole? But anyway.
Yeah. Trevor Bauer is a whole nother level of asshole. So anyway.
Last time we talk about him, because there's no Hall of Fame discussion on him anymore.
There is not anymore.
So good.
All right, should we finish up?
Yeah, Evan's good, bad, and ugly of the last couple of weeks. One sec. I don't know what order you're doing it.
So my bad and ugly both come to us from the NCAA.
Right.
The first one is a great article by Pat Forty on Sports Illustrated. For those at home, Sports Illustrated used to have a really good magazine, but now it just has a really terrible website. Although I believe they have more employees now than ESPN does. But anyway, so
did you see my tweet though?
What?
I said, like, is there going to be an SB award for the best fire?
Yes, there should be, and his name is well, it's still not Max Kellerman.
Susie Kobler.
So yeah, Susie Kobler is definitely it. So let me tell you a quick story about an absolute moron named Bert Eugene Neff Jr. So Bert Eugene Neff Jr. is a baseball coach in Indiana who went into the sports book at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati and tried to bet $100,000 on the Alabama at LSU baseball game. Now, first of all, no one in their right mind bets $100,000 on a regular season SEC baseball game. As a matter of fact, it's above the maximum allowed by the sports book, right? So
Oh, okay.
he tries to give it to them. There's like no gambling traffic on this game. He tries to give it to them, and they say no. And he says, "But I have inside information. I have to make this bet." He then at the window. Now understand, if you're at the window of a casino, what is going to be above you?
Well, they call it the eye in the sky, and it's blinking at you.
Eye in the sky.
Mind.
The camera. So what does he do? He literally turns so it's right directly over his shoulder and starts texting information to the head coach of Alabama's baseball team saying, "Hey, they're not letting me make the bet. What should I do?" So baseball coach Brad Bohannon got fired for inside information and betting. What he had told them was that their ace starter, and LSU was really good this year, in case you guys didn't know. They won the national championship.
I heard they won the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, 19-4, I think, in the final game.
Yeah.
So they're probably gonna lose this game anyway, but their starter had arm stiffness. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Regardless, he was being sat, and they're putting in a guy who hadn't pitched in 3 weeks to start the game. And they ended up losing that game. And essentially the coach was giving inside information to this guy in order to make the bet. This is one of the dumbest men I have ever seen in my entire life.
There's a lot.
I have to make this bet. I have inside information. And then immediately texting your co-conspirator. and somehow his son is a pitcher at the University of Cincinnati, this coach, Mr. Neff. And now the University of Cincinnati and Xavier University, which is also in Cincinnati, are doing probes as well because there may be some issues with them. In terms of bad, this is not good. So, Mr. Neff, congratulations.
You should do the good, the stupid, and ugly.
That'd be good. This is one of the dumbest criminals I've ever seen in my life. I sent the article to you.
Yeah,
this guy, freaking moron. But yeah, and then I was gonna do this last week, but read the Pat Forty's article. If you want to just laugh at stupid criminals, read Pat Forty's article on this. It's fantastic. It's one of the best reads I've had on anything.
Amazingly, when you sent that, I sent something that I saw. Well, I didn't send the article, but this is good. Probably going to be coming up in a week or so with the Team Canada World Juniors in 2018, because I saw that the probe might be over.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of I don't know, man. I got no idea. But anyway.
So my ugly, we're going to go to the University or Northwestern University here in the Greater Chicago area. With the last coach who is not fired, please turn off the lights on the way out the door. So Pat Fitzgerald is one of those guys who makes the rounds on the radio ears all the time, talking about like he was the star of Northwestern football, right? He was a very good player here. Then he took over. He's the youngest coach ever. Sorry, he was the youngest coach in college football when he took over. He took over the team at 31. He was the youngest coach in Division I by 4 years when he took over, right? He's always talking about running a clean program and everything like this. And it turns out he didn't. There are all sorts. I mean, well, it doesn't look like he did anything bad in recruiting, but there was a massive hazing, sexual exploitation thing going on that you would never see in the Big Ten. It's not like that would ever happen at Ohio State or Penn State or never mind. So
Penn State. Well, okay, Penn State wasn't hazing.
That is true, but it was sexual contact. So, and according to all the Penn State people I know, it never happened. Yeah, probably the biggest fight I've ever been in on Facebook is with a Penn State person after Joe Paterno died. I was like, Joe Paterno, great coach, apparently a terrible human being. And then just the biggest fight I've ever had on social media was with a Penn State person talking about how it wasn't real and the whole thing was made up.
That was their defense. The whole thing was made up.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Go on. Yeah. We're moving on.
We're moving on.
Yeah.
But in the light of that going on, Danny Parkins, who has the 2 to 6 show, he's the main host of the 2 to 6 show out here, got a tip that there was a lot of weird stuff going on with the baseball program as well. And he broke the news of that on the same day as Fitzgerald getting fired, which was Monday of last week. Last week. And unlike Fitzgerald, who had a bunch of support, the coach of the baseball team, whose name I can't remember right now, had absolutely no support and was fired on Thursday for basically belittling and dereliction of duty and everything else. And it's also now spread to the softball team. It looks like the softball coach is getting fired. But this hazing probe is going even further.
Men's or women's?
Women's softball.
There's no men's. Okay. But yeah, sorry.
No. But it looks like it's going further and further, this probe, and it looks like it involves the women's volleyball team. It involves the men's volleyball team, and maybe some others as well. This whole hazing, that's what I'm looking for, culture that's going on at Northwestern. So we may see another 3 or 4 or 5 coaches dismissed. And I'm presuming probably the president, who at the time this broke was in Europe traveling. I don't think he's going to survive. I don't think the athletics director is going to survive.
No.
I think the whole group is just cleaning absolute house here.
Oh, hold on. I got a call from the Alabama coach. What's that? Don't bet on Northwestern on anything. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, the
prop machine.
A college baseball team, by the way, has 35 players on it, right? Northwestern had their 35 players. They had, I think, 9 graduate last year. Mm-hmm. So that left them with 26. 16 of them entered the transfer portal because they didn't want anything to do with the coach.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, and there was like literally no support for him, except for Lou Merloni, who was his college teammate. So the former Red Sox player is now on WEI back in Boston. That was the only support he had. So it is a mess. It's going to get bigger. There are going to be more people fired out of this, and it's Northwestern, which is like Vanderbilt of the North.
Well,
like just it's the education first school in a state school conference. Does that make sense?
Now that you explained it, because it's like like Vanderbilt of the North, what, you got a shitty female kicker there too?
No,
I don't know.
Vanderbilt's much better at baseball. I know
I know nothing about actually scholastics in the United States when it comes to that sort of thing.
Vanderbilt's a very good school,
other than Ivy and everything else. That's all I know.
Vanderbilt and Northwestern are both very good non-public. They're very good private schools that are in major sports leagues. That's what that came down to more than anything.
Nothing offensive, guys. I literally do not know.
Yeah. Yep. So, not good for Northwestern. It's just going to get worse. We'll see what happens.
Sounds that. Or what's our good? Let's end on a high note here.
End on the good. I would like to point out the all-time. What do you think who's the all-time free throw leader in percentages in NBA history?
Oh, I got no idea. Let's see. Ray Allen. I don't know.
Yeah, Ray Allen's 7th. That was actually a pretty good guess.
Okay.
So there are only 3 players in the history of the NBA who have a free throw percentage over 90%. They are Mark Price at 90.39.
Yep.
Steve Nash at 90.43, and currently the leader, and I guess has a chance to go either up or down, Steph Curry is at 90.87%. Right? The WNBA All-Star Game happened last week, and they had a skills competition. In that skills competition, they had a 3-point shooting contest. And why can't I think of her name?
Sabrina Ionescu.
Sabrina Ionescu went 25 for 27 from the floor.
Which is a record.
Which is also 92%. Meaning she made more in a timed 3-point shooting contest than Steph Curry's made in his career percentage-wise as the number one guy from the free throw line in the NBA.
It was probably, in my opinion, and again, like I'm trying to be a whole WNBA person, and I know that sort of turns off a lot of people. And can I tell you my logic behind all this?
Sure.
Okay. I watch because I've got a lot more. I don't know if it's necessarily more free time, but I'm home all day while I'm working on everything. So I listen to more stuff than most people. Part of it is listening to sports media, which has become polarized. And you and I have a different opinion on terms of trans. Well, yeah, but you and I have a different opinion on trans women in sports, right?
Yep.
My thing is when I hear a lot of the people who are against it, and I'm with them, but if you're not actually watching it, then what's the point?
Why do you care?
So I said, okay, and as you know, as we can go back, anyone can go back and hear this, and I've pretty much done this. It's been, I can't say that I'm mathematically proving this or not, but I said, okay, I'm going to do 20% female sports. And I think I have been. Again, I'm not calculating the whole thing, but I'm going to care. So I'm going to put my time and I guess my platform where my mouth is. And I encourage some of the others who were saying this, if you're against this, like I am, are you actually paying attention? Because if you're not, then what are you doing this for?
And you have a very good chance to take care of that because the Women's World Cup starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I've already been looking at actually when the times are. And yes, it's going to be sort of like late. And I am doing it. I'm going to watch as much of it as I can. And frankly, I like women's soccer because they don't do something that I hate, which is which they don't dive. I actually enjoy that's something I enjoy.
Although Ireland and Colombia had a friendly warm-up game that Ireland walked off the field after 20-something minutes because the Colombian players were like basically trying to injure all their players. One of their best players almost had her leg broken in a friendly.
Well, I like that. I just don't like diving. At least that's real.
I got it.
So
I got it.
And I told you I became friends with, well, not friends, an acquaintance with somebody who played for Temple. And I said, like, how come we don't do that? And she said to me, because I don't want someone like you thinking that I'm weak. She said a different word that was rhymed with ussy, but still.
Wussy. You're gonna say wussy.
Wussy, yes, there you go. But it's like shit. There you go. So no, I'm supporting Women's World Cup massively. So that's sort of my whole thing is why I'm watching a lot of more women's sports, because otherwise then I'm the hypocrite that I claim that I hate, and I will not be.
Well, going back to Ionescu, as soon as she did this, and Shea Serrano had a tweet about like how this is one of the most amazing things he's ever seen. Of course, the yeah, but people are on there saying, well, the ball was smaller and she's closer than she would be in the NBA.
Oh, sorry, the who people? Oh,
there
yeah,
people underneath.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you go to Shea Serrano saying there are people like, well, this isn't that impressive because whatever. I would like to remind you, she was timed and has a better percentage than the best free throw shooter in the history of the NBA. She hitting 25 out of 27 shots from the free throw line would be a record, essentially. I mean, people have made more than that in a row. But if you did that and retired, you'd have the highest free throw percentage in the career of the NBA.
Yeah.
Just stop with that bullshit. It's amazing to watch. She misses her first shot and she misses the last shot of the fourth rack of balls. That's up two other bonus balls somewhere in the middle too. And by the way, she's not right up on the line when she's shooting these. Those two bonus balls, she's at least 3 feet behind them. So she's shooting from NBA range with those. Whether the balls are small or not, I don't know. It doesn't matter. If even the balls are
pretty
small,
sure okay. The line's different, but the balls aren't smaller.
That's what they're saying. And even if they are smaller, women's hands generally are also smaller. So who cares? But like it just go watch it. It's freaking amazing. It's incredible to see. Anyone making 5 out of 27 shots ever in anything is like a Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, McDonald's commercial.
We're not talking 25 out of 27 free throws. We're talking about 25 out of 27 behind an arc. I don't care that it's still behind an arc.
Yep.
It is one of the most, and I think you sent that to me, and I responded like, and I've she's been on my radar for a long, long time. One thing I don't know if I mentioned that I'm doing this. So like I do the not Hall of Fame Cup, right?
Yeah.
There's a WNBA Cup.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. For whatever reason, it never came up. So I'm doing that too. So like it's part of my whole thing of if I'm gonna sort of like take this position, I'm not gonna be able. No one's gonna be able to call me out and say, "Well, you didn't care about us before."
Got it. I understand.
They won't be able to say that about me. Period. Uh, because like I'm trying to give as much props as you can, and that is something. And I responded to you. I said like that's what you promote. You promote this. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
What if this? What if that? Okay. You can do that when Brittany Griner had to dunk there, and it was like 5 travel steps, and it was okay. And they promoted that. They promoted the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And they should have known better.
Chicks
And
dig the long ball.
yeah. But I mean, but still, I mean, like what they can do exceptionally well is shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And if the 3-point shot is second to the dunk, all right, that's fine. So let's work on the second. There's nothing wrong with that. I am putting my time into this. I am emotionally invested in these women. They make it hard. I'm not going to lie to you.
The league makes it hard, not the women.
Some of them, no, some of the women make it hard.
Okay.
So, both.
Get it. Okay.
There are some women who are not very likable.
Okay.
Some NBA players who are not very likable.
That's also true.
But it's also harder too for them because they're I still remember something you said to me once when I was joking about the WNBA. I said, like, what the hell's wrong with their website? And they were leading with a women's fashion show, a lesbian fashion show. And you said to me, you're not the audience they're looking for. I said, yes, I am the audience they're looking for.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
There's something to that. And unfortunately, it's in vogue, too much so, for a lot of sports fans to shit on them. And I have. I have. But I'm going to praise what I think they do well. And I'm glad you brought up what Ionescu did. This is somebody who Kobe loved.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an accident that she was one of the speakers at his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
They were working together. And you said this, and I think you're not alone in this. Had his daughter lived, had he lived,
had he and his daughter lived, the WNBA goes a different place.
Unless Angel Reese could be the transcendent figure.
Possible.
It's possible. I've said
but Angel Reese would have been the setup for.
That's true too.
Yeah,
that's
because she died. They died what 3 years ago. So she was 13. She'd be 16 now, right? She'd be going in 2 years, and now she's hitting the NCAA, and she's the most sought after recruit in the country, and everybody's following where she is.
And we're going with the assumption that she's going to be that good, and we don't know. I mean, I have no clue.
You don't know, but I mean, if you're Kobe's kid and Kobe's giving you that support, you got to figure. So
you'd think so, and just like the whole pictures and images we saw, just like when they would watch games and you'd see him just saying, like pointing at like schemes and whatnot. It could have been something very special. Obviously, it won't be, but. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm turning a lot of people off here because I know that.
It doesn't matter. So speaking of turning off, we should probably end. It's almost midnight.
Yeah,
we're only 2 hours away from the opening of the Women's World Cup in New Zealand. So
that's tonight. Okay, I'll stay up for that.
Yeah, it starts at 2 a.m. Central here. So
who's playing first?
So the games tonight are New Zealand against Norway, and then at 5 a.m. is Australia, Ireland, and at 9:30 a.m. is Nigeria and Canada. So 9:30 in the morning.
Canada. There we go.
Sorry, 9:30. Sorry, 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because I thought I checked that out for Canada and U.S. games. I think
New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah, so that it would be sort of watchable here. Anywho, I'll just do a few promotions here. So I've got a book out if you want to sort of check out about Chavo Guerrero Sr. He is the late, great wrestler who I had the pleasure of writing his autobiography of. That's on Amazon, Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic. Check that out. There's a few other shows that I do. I thought I was going to record something before. That didn't quite happen. That'll be a little later. It's How the Hell Was This a Hit? Our next song is The Proclaimers. I can't do it the Scottish thing. Can you do Scottish? You're Irish, so I don't know.
I would walk 500 miles and I don't know.
Better than
I do have to say, when Hey There Delilah came out and he said 1,000 miles is pretty far, but they got planes and trains and cars, Proclaimers gonna be like, they got what now?
Well, I thought about this too. I mean, the Proclaimers are like, I'm going to walk 500 miles. Like, you're in Glasgow. If you walk 500 miles, you're in the damn ocean, you dumbass. But anywho, there's that. Glenn Pulowski and I, we have a show called the Classic Sports Review, and we recorded the opening episode of Roller Games from 92. We've decided on what we're going, no, 89, sorry. We've decided what we're going to be doing for our next show, which is going to be the 1994 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, right before the strike. So we're going to have like a needle meter. So we thought that would sort of be an interesting era to sort of like go through, because we haven't watched it, but we figure that we know what's looming. How often are they going to talk about it? And well, we know what happened. So that's coming soon.
You're going to see a lot of people with celery on their heads.
Yeah, or something to that fact, yeah.
Yeah, because what's the deal with celery caps? I still remember those when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Our good friend Vinny Laspinusa. I was going to call him Vinny Pasquantino, but that's the Kansas City Royals player. Vinny Laspinusa, he does a show called Vinny Makes a Hall of Fame Case For, and someone we talked about earlier, Seymour Siloff, the grandfather of stats, and he's going to make a case for why he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Our last show is why Don Cherry should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, so check that out soon. And Paul Lawrence and I, we do the Retro Football Show. And I've been studying Super Bowl IX because our last show that we recorded was Super Bowl VII. Don't tell me how it ends. Yeah, I already watched it, so I guess I know how it ends.
One team wins and one does not.
There we go. So there's that. So there's a whole lot of things coming up here in the Buchnerverse. With that, guys, thanks so much for sticking with us. Again, Evan and I really ask you to support our United States Athletic Hall of Fame. And if you want to be part of our Pro Football Hall of Fame Revisited project, let us know. We would love to have you. Again, unless you're a toolbox. If you're a knowledgeable toolbox, then I guess we'll take you, right?
Yeah, probably. I would probably take it.
Probably. I mean, the Baseball Hall of Fame took Ty Cobb.
That is true. And he was more. And in case it's carrying, this is going to come out afterwards, but I'm going to be bartending at the All-American Rejects concert tomorrow, bartending for charity. So on Thursday and Friday over in Elk Grove Village. So feel free to come and say hi.
I will be at a bar tomorrow.
Fantastic.
There you go. So with that, gang, wherever you are, wherever it may be, stay safe, everyone.
Take care, guys.